There's this thing you do where you watch other people live online, someone's aesthetic morning routine, and think about how you should probably drink more water, go to the gym. You watch a video about someone who quit their job to do the thing they always wanted to do, and you feel something. Maybe inspiration, maybe envy, maybe just this dull recognition that time is passing and you're still exactly where you were. You read an article about discipline or purpose or reinvention. You save it. You'll come back to it. You bookmark the podcast episode about the guy who turned his life around at 25. You tell yourself you'll listen to it on your commute tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, and you listen to something easier instead, something that doesn't ask anything of you. I used to do this too. I've spent entire evenings consuming other people's transformations like they're a genre of entertainment, self-improvement as spectator sport. I'll watch someone explain how they finally got serious about their health, and I'll nod along, and I'll think, yeah, I should do that. And then I'll watch 3 more videos about people who did other things, and then it'll be midnight, and I'll have done nothing except become very well informed about all the things I'm not doing. Which is where it gets strange. Because this doesn't feel like avoidance. It feels productive. It feels like research, like you're in the preparation phase. You're gathering information, you're learning, you're getting ready to start. Except you're never quite ready. There's always one more video to watch, one more article to read, one more person's story to absorb before you begin your own. And the weird part is that this doesn't feel like procrastination. It feels responsible. It feels like due diligence. You wouldn't start a business without researching, right? You wouldn't try a new workout routine without understanding the form, the science, and the optimal approach. So why would you try to change your life without first understanding every possible way to do it? The problem is that understanding and doing are entirely different activities, and we've convinced ourselves that understanding is a prerequisite for doing, when really, most of the time, it's a replacement for doing. I think about this a lot when I watch people talk about their lives online. Not influencers necessarily, just regular people who decided to document something. Someone who learned to cook, someone who got into running, someone who started drawing again after years of not drawing. And there's this moment in a lot of these stories where they admit they almost didn't start. They weren't ready. They didn't have the right equipment or the perfect plan or enough knowledge. They just began anyway. Badly, usually, with the wrong shoes or the wrong mindset, or no clear idea of where it was going. And then they kept going. And the keeping going is what made the story exist at all. But you don't usually see that part. You see the edited version, the montage, the 6-month transformation compressed into 8 minutes. You see the person who now knows what they're doing, reflecting back on when they didn't. And it looks like a story. It has a shape. A before and an after, an inciting incident and a resolution. And I think part of why we watch these things is because we're waiting for our own lives to feel like that, like there's going to be some moment, some catalyst, some external event that gives us permission to start. The new year, Monday, a breakup, a health scare, something big enough to justify the effort of changing. But what keeps me coming back to this is that most people's transformations didn't start with a moment. They started with a Tuesday, some random, unremarkable Tuesday where they just did the thing they'd been thinking about doing, not because they felt ready or they'd figured out the optimal strategy, but they just did it because they were tired of not doing it. And that's somehow the least romantic version of change imaginable, which is maybe why it doesn't make for good content. I started because I was sick of my own excuses doesn't have the same ring as I hit rock bottom and everything changed, but it's more honest. And it's more replicable. The uncomfortable part is realizing that all the research, all the watching, all the consuming of other people's stories, it's not preparation, it's spectatorship. You're watching your own life happen at a distance, like it's a show you're waiting to get good before you fully commit to it. It's like you've turned your life into something you just comment on in your head. It sounds like they woke up late again. They wasted time scrolling. They thought about the gym but didn't go. They ordered food they didn't need. They stayed up watching others live the life they want. And without realizing it, you step back from your own life. And slowly, you stop being the one living and become the one just watching. You're there, but not really in it. Which sounds dramatic, but I don't think it is. I think it's just accurate. There's a version of you that exists in your head, the hypothetical you, the one who wakes up early, who has routines, who reads books instead of scrolling, who goes after things, who isn't afraid of looking stupid while learning something new. That version has been fully formed in your imagination for years now. You know exactly what their life looks like. You've thought about it in detail. And then there's the actual you, the one who has to do things, the one who gets tired and distracted and discouraged, the one who has to show up on days when showing up feels pointless. And the difference between the person you think you should be and the person you actually are is where you live. And the difference between the person you think you should be and the person you actually are. But here's what I've been thinking about. That hypothetical you who has it all figured out, they don't exist. They never will. Because the only version of you that exists is the one that has to do things badly before they can do them well. The one that has to start without knowing how it ends. The one that has to be embarrassed and uncomfortable and inconsistent. You cannot edit your life before you live it. You cannot research your way into transformation. You cannot think your way into a different version of yourself. You have to do your way there. And doing is so much messier and slower and less cinematic than thinking. Doing means failing in real time. It means starting something and realizing you're bad at it and continuing anyway. It means not having a good reason except that you decided this is what you're doing now. I used to think the hard part was figuring out what to do, what goal to chase, what thing to commit to. But that's not the hard part. The hard part is accepting that you're going to do it badly for a while, that you're going to be the beginner in the room, that you're going to post something or try something or start something, and it's going to be objectively not great, and you're going to have to keep going anyway. Because the alternative is continuing to watch other people live, continuing to absorb their stories, continuing to bookmark and save and plan and prepare for some future version of your life that only starts once you feel ready. But you're never going to feel ready. No one feels ready. The people whose stories you watch, they didn't feel ready either. They just started. And the starting is what made them ready. And this is the part I keep coming back to. You are the only person who can make your life something other than what it currently is. And I'm not saying this in an inspirational way, in a literal way. There is no one else coming. There's no external force that's going to intervene and make you do the thing you keep thinking about doing. It's just you. And I know it sounds harsh, and maybe it is, but it's also freeing in a way, because it means you don't need permission. You don't need to feel motivated or inspired. You just need to decide that this is the part of your life where you stop planning and start doing. And the doing doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be a complete overhaul. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture of commitment. It can be small and quiet, but it has to be real. It has to involve your actual body doing an actual thing in the actual world, not your mind imagining doing a thing. And this is the shift from the person who thinks about their life to the person who lives it. And I don't know what that looks like specifically for you. Maybe it's the thing you've been putting off for months. Maybe it's the thing you've been researching for years. Maybe it's something you haven't even named yet, but can feel sitting in the back of your mind like a question you're afraid to ask. So I want to ask you a question. How much longer are you going to wait? Not in a judgmental way, in a genuine way. How much more time are you going to spend watching other people do the things you wish you were doing? How many more months of consuming stories about transformation before you start writing your own? And I'm asking this as someone who does this too. As someone who knows how easy it is to stay in observer mode, how comfortable it is, how much safer it feels than actually trying. But at some point you have to ask yourself, what are you waiting for? What needs to happen before you give yourself permission to start? Because whatever it is, it's not coming. The perfect moment isn't coming. The readiness isn't coming. The motivation isn't coming. You just have to start badly, imperfectly, without knowing how it ends. You have to close the video, close the tab, put down the phone, and do the thing you've been thinking about doing.